Hey, what's going on, gang? So, yesterday I woke up and I watched a Marine X video about Benchmade suing Montana Knife Company. I don't know all the details about it, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's a pretty good video if you want to go check it out. Now, if you uh, watch that video in its entirety, you'll hear Marine X say, and I very much suggest you do, it's a good video, and he's got a good channel. But you'll hear him say something about some knife that's being made, and it's like, it's more expensive because it's Magnacut, and that's what we're going to cover today. I'm hearing this a lot. I see it a lot, and I bought into it. Man. I was just as guilty. I've said it plenty of times. Now that I'm actually buying steel to make knives, I'm starting to pay attention to the prices, so we're going to get into that. Now, in between this video and the last segment of the video that you'll see is where we'll be going over the prices on paper. It'll be a desktop, and we'll be looking at prices on paper. We're going to have some proof. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to New Jersey Steel Bearing. It's where most knife makers, especially small knife makers, get their steel. It's not the only place you can get steel. You can get steel from several different places, like we can get it straight from Niagara. There's there's all kinds of different steel distributors out there, and I'm not saying New Jersey Steel Bearing is any better than the other, but it's one of the most popular, and their prices are pretty static when it comes to being competitive with the market. So we're going to look at some stuff, and some stuff might surprise you. If you want to skip over all the screenshotted stuff, not screenshotted, but it'll be screen recorded, is where I'm going to go to New Jersey Steel Bearing, and we're going to go shopping for some steel. How it's going to work is we're going to look at sheets of steel that are 24 inches by 10 inches, that are 3/16 inch blade stock, and some of it may be out of stock. They might not have any in that size, so we'll just have to deal with it. But there's a way we can tell the difference between, there's a way that we can pretty much estimate the price of that steel as well, even if it's out of stock, and I'll show you how. I think, I think you might be as surprised as I was whenever I started looking into this stuff. And I really started paying attention to it whenever I was shopping for crewwear, so let's dive into it. If anything's out of stock, you can pretty much tell what the price of the steel is going to be by the minimum and the maximum that anything's going to cost. Like, so right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I'm touching the buttons, the 1784 and 3450 imaginary buttons. They're not really buttons. All right, so we'll have to go through this whole thing. It will do the finishing thickness is at 0.187. That's it's already checked because that's what I was shopping for. The thickness range, they sell it oversized, so like you can't choose 172, 188 because if it happens to ship out at 0.172, it can't cover the 3/16 inch blade stock that you desire to be for the knife to be finished in. So you have to go up one size. So that's already checked as well. So the width is 10 inches, and in this steel you can get it all the way up to 24 inches. Some steels aren't available that wide. You got the 24 inches wide. I'm sorry, long. So the length is 24 inches, and the width is 10 inches, and that's pretty standard. That's going to be pretty much available all across the board with the steels we're going to be looking at today. So finishing is hot rolled. That just means it's not cold rolled. The only steel that they offer in cold rolled on this website is AEBL steel type, oversized. It's the only option you get. So that's why you can't order it 0.172 to 187 unless you like choose a thinner thickness. Like, I have to go back down to like say 1/6. All right, so you see what happens. Sorry, no products match your selection because you got something wrong. So we're going to go back to 187, and now we'll have a product that matches our thickness. Now in this, you got 24 times 10. It's 240 square inches, right? So what happens is, like, say you need 20 square inches in order to be able to make a blade. Then you have to work out the math. You got 240 divided by 20. I believe that's going to leave you with enough knives to make 12 blades. Roughly, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm just doing that in my head. So it's $569 approximately for 12 blades. So we're going to write that down on our piece of paper. And grab a piece of paper and write it down with me if you want to. Or skip this portion and go straight to us looking at the paper at the end. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to change steel types. We're going to go from Magnacut. Sorry, having a tough time clearing my voice today. To Crewware. So you see Crewware is just a little cheaper. All right, 187. Same deal. Width 10, length 24, finish hot rolled, and that is available in wide belt ground as well. And we're not going to worry about that. We're going to try to keep all the options exactly the same in order to be able to keep everything static. All right, so I'm gonna have to actually click add to cart. Now give me a price down here, 507. So the same amount of blades for 507.64. So what we're looking at here is we make the same 12 knobs for just a tad bit cheaper in Crewware than we can Magnacut, which I would expect that to be the case, right? Here's where things might start getting a little. Well, CPMD2. Let's go ahead and do CPMD2. So, like, who would rather have CPMD2 or Crewware? Leave a comment. To me, it doesn't matter. I like both of them, man. I've had really good luck with both of these steels, so it's not like trying to choose a steel and start. I'm sorry. Wait just a second. Okay, so this one isn't going to be available in 10 inches. It's going to be available in 12 inches. We'll see if we can't end up with that 240 square inches. So instead of 24, 12, so 22 inches. God, I hope that's right. Hot rolled and oversized. Sometimes you don't have to do this add to cart. It just shows you, okay, that's, okay, 540. Well, that's 540.74. Let's be exact here, right? And that is not exactly the same dimensions. What is 12 times 22? Nope. No. I did some bad math there. That's 264 square inches. And we'll put it down. We'll put that out beside the knife there. That was about as close as I could get it, but just a second. Width 20. That would be exactly 240. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So we'll go down here. Okay, it's out of stock, but it's $492. Okay, let's change that. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Keeping it 240. That's $492. But it's out of stock. 89. Okay. Get out of D2. Look at that CPM M4. I don't have this one on the list, but let's go ahead and do it just because. M4. See what's available. I haven't even looked at it. $535. So right now, Magnacut still is the most expensive steel that we've looked at. Let's back out. Let's start surprising you, if at all possible. So CPM S30V. Select options. If at any point you get bored and you just want to skip to the end, just do it. It's okay. Like, I'm not worried about this performance of this video. That's not what it's about. Okay. S30V, $554.69. Okay. S35VN. Whoa. What in the hell? See how that's backwards here? Just a second. All right, so that's $563.87 for the same 12 knobs. Okay. S45VN. This was a shocker to me. You'll see why. Okay. I don't think they have any of the unobtainium steels here, like Rex 45 and stuff like that, but we can check. But what about see, like CPM 154? What about 20 CV? Like, check this out. Wow. Did I do something wrong? Okay. $726.23. What's CPM 3V? Very popular still in 3/16 blade stock. Used a lot for outdoor types. And coming in at the best bargain that we can find so far, $487.27. That is the cheapest still, right up underneath CPM D2. And like next would be crew wear. Okay. About 4V. $4V, like the difference between 4V and 3V, is quite substantial. $640.17 for those 12 knobs. Okay. Already looked at crew wear and Magnacut. How about the last one is S90V? This is the last CPM still they have to offer. $598.58. Okay. Okay. Let's stop it there and discuss this. Okay, so I was right and wrong in certain elements of this study. I guess you would say, just a little quick study. Anybody can do this kind of study, right? It doesn't take a password to get on New Jersey steel bearings, so anybody can do it. But like as you saw, where I said there's an easy way to tell, where it says the price ranges are like from $17 to $3,500. I was pretty much basing it off of that. Whenever I was trying to figure out which steel was going to be cheaper than the others. But what I was right about is there are some steels out there that are very common that are cheaper than Magnacut. And let's go over that. And if they're not cheaper, some of them are within pennies of the same price per blade. So like this price right here that you'll see, this is going to go from the most expensive to the cheapest. We got 20CV, 4V, S90V, Magnacut, S45VN, S35VN, S30V, M4, Crewwear, CPM D2, and 3V. Now, some of these prices do change depending on how much product you buy. I'm not oblivious to that. So like, if you're buying in bulk, they'll probably run specials on specific steels. But for the average knife maker that's making 10, 20 knives a month or so, if anybody's, even for anybody else, I would just about assume they would pass those savings off to the higher corporations too. Like if you're a big name corporation and you offer a knife in 20 CV, and you also offer a knife in Magnacut, but your knife that you offer in Magnacut is $100 more because it's in Magnacut, they're doing themselves and you a great disservice. They're taking advantage of you. I don't care how you want to look at that. 20 CV is way more expensive than Magnacut, and there's going to be a reason behind that. I don't know what the reason is, unless it's we can go back and check on it later if they've happened to have it priced wrong. Then that would be the only excuse that I could come up with that would justify that. But 20 CV costs $60.51 per blade if you're making 12 knives. 4V costs $53.33 per blade if you're making 12 knives. This is all going to be 12 knives, so like we don't have to worry about saying that repetitively. S90V costs $49.83 per knife. Magnacut costs $47.41 per knife. S45VN costs $47.25 per knife. Now, when I say per knife, this knife is 3 16-inch blade stock, 10 inches long, and 2 inches wide. And these are just going to be like the stocks that we can cut these knives out of, these 12 stocks. We can guarantee get 12 knives, but maybe we get 13 depending on how, if we get them water jetted and they lay it out differently on the sheet. But we can definitely cut out 12 pieces to these diameters, 10 inches, 2 inches, 3 16-inch blade stock. It's not going to change. Okay, where are we at? We got S30V. $46.22. This is where you start seeing cheaper steel. So M4 is $44.58. That's $1.70 cheaper than S30V. But that's per blade. Just let me remind you about that. Crewwear is $42.25, which is substantially cheaper than Magnacut, but it's $5, man. It's $5 cheaper to make a knife in Crewwear in these dimensions and these parameters than it is to make the knife in Magnacut. CPM D2 is $41. It's $6 it's not even $6. It's $5.50, to make a knife in Magnacut versus CPMD2. And anybody else kind of surprised about this? Like how cheap Crewware is compared to CPMD2? I'm like, if you're gonna go ahead and, I mean, there's nothing wrong with CPMD2. I love CPMD2, but like we all know that Crewware is supposed to be better, right? Like substantially. So why not spend that extra buck per blade? When you're looking at these numbers over here, they get a little bit more intimidating because you're buying enough metal to make 12 knives. But, at the end of the day, when you get done with those knives, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at prices for, this is how much I have invested in steel in this knife, versus this is how much I got invested into that steel for the batch in order to be able to make 12 knives. And then CPM 3V is $40.58. Even this is about $6 worth of difference. It's not even $6 worth of difference. The final difference, we're 47.41 and 40.58. We're looking at about $5.90 some odd cents or something like that. And difference between making a knife in 3V and Magnacut. Where we're starting to see a lot of my problem is not how much people pay for the steel and make the knife. Like I understand there's more aspects that go into making a knife. How much does it cost to heat treat it? Heat treating Magnacut may cost a little bit more than 3V. It's not going to be much. Both of them, I wouldn't say require a heat treatment, but both of them will benefit greatly from a cryo heat treatment, which is going to require nitrogen or something to the extent, and nitrogen is expensive. So like every steel on here is going to benefit from a cryo heat treat or a tempering process. So like, it doesn't cost any more to run the oven, I don't think for any of these blades. I haven't went over, I'm not a heat treat expert. I will, let me say that straight up. I have studied the Crewware, the CPMD2, the 3V, and S45VN for kicks. They're all pretty similar. Yeah, and I'm not saying like they all heat treat exactly the same. I'm saying like the cost variant, the cost variable of how much it costs to heat treat a S45VN blade versus Crewware and CPMD2 and 3V, it's pretty much identical. So like when you see somebody offering a knife in 20CV, S90V, and then they have the same model that's available in Magnacut, but it's twice the price, and we're seeing a lot of it. Then they're getting over on you because you're drilling over the steel, because the price of the steel is cheaper than 20CV. Like this the way it is, and it sucks, and I'm sorry, and a knife maker should be the last person in the world to be making this video. This should be a video that's made strictly by a collector, because the collector you guys care about what steel you add to your collection. I know, because I'm a collector myself, right? But now if I'm charging a couple $100 for a knife, $300 for a knife, whatever, that's made out of Crewware, somebody's going to be able to say, no, Billy, I know exactly how much you have invested in my blade. What you don't know is how many belts I have invested in your blade, how much it did cost to do all the machining and all that stuff. And and most people aren't going to argue that. You can't buy a Crewware knife for $42 that's finished. If you can, link me to it. I'll buy us both one for celebratory reasons. So like the reason, the same could possibly be said about CPMD2, but we do see like used Adamas's on eBay quite often in CPMD2 for under the $100 mark. So like I would say that would be a bargain in comparison to what we have to spend on used variables and other knives. Anyway, what's your thoughts? We live in a very small town, and one of our cops or fire trucks or something's active right now in the background, so sorry, that's not normally the thing. But regardless, tell me what your thoughts are. If you watched this far, let me know what you think. How do you feel about, is it deception? Am I looking at it wrong? I'm just getting, it just kind of irks me, and it kind of twists my stomach around whenever I hear a knife reviewer say, well, that was, it's this model, they're making the same knife in this model, but it's a Magnacut, so of course it's more expensive. It's not any harder to get than 20CV. Not any harder to get than 4V or S90V. There's nothing special about this steel except for the composition of the steel. And I love Magnacut. Got a couple knives in Magnacut. I love them. I love the way they perform. So I'm not here to bash Magnacut. So I'm not going to argue with you about it in the comments because you didn't make it this far in the video and you don't know what I said. You know, like, I do love Magnacut. There's not a steel on this list that I haven't had some good experiences with. There's also not a steel on this list that I haven't had some mediocre experiences with, right? So, except for M4. I've never experienced that steel at all. I'm not sure I've actually had many experiences with 4V either. Not enough to have an opinion about. I've had lots of good and bad with 20CV. I've had some good and bad with Magnacut. I've had some good and bad with all three of these for sure. Those are, you know, S30 to S45Vs, variables. M4 never had it. Crewwear had mediocre, nothing bad. But CPMD2 had a lot of good, and I've had a couple of bad. And then 3V had lots of good and very few bad, but I have had some bad. But yo, can you, at the end of the day, $40 for a blade of 3V this size versus $60 for 20CV and a blade this size. Anyway, thought piece. You come up with your own conclusions on how you feel about it. You guys have a great one. We'll catch you on the flip side.